NASCAR will be testing oval-rain tires at Martinsville International Speedway, and we're going to talk about a couple interesting things that Marcus Smith talked about on the Dale Jr. Download. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a couple NASCAR stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first story we're going to talk about is It's Savvy, as they are going to be sponsoring Roush Fenway Racing for multiple races. Well, not multiple races, but they'll be sponsoring Roush Fenway Racing in 2021, and they will sponsor Ryan Newman at Michigan International Speedway. It's crazy to think that Roush Fenway Racing is kind of a mid-tier organization, that they continue to pick up sponsorship. Ryan Newman is a marketable driver. He's able to bring sponsorship into that team, and it's really awesome that they are sponsoring him once again in 2021. Really awesome that It's Savvy is going to step up to the plate and sponsor him in 2021. On to the next story. We're going to talk about Ryan Ellis, as was announced tonight that Ryan Ellis is going to be driving the number 99 for BJ McLeod Motorsports at Darlington International Speedway for the Throwback Weekend, which is the Rebel Throw 400 weekend, as a matter of fact. And he's going to be running a special throwback scheme to his grandfather, Vic Ellis. Ryan Ellis, I think, is a very, very, very talented driver, and I think he's going to do really, really well in BJ McLeod Motorsports equipment, especially when we go to Darlington in a couple weeks here. What are my expectations for Ryan Ellis? I think overall his goal is to try to finish in the top 20 in the race. I know the Xfinity Series field is pretty competitive, but there's a lot of crazy wrecks that we've seen in the Xfinity Series, and I think, and a great show we'll probably see as well in the Xfinity Series, but I think talent is going to matter a lot, and you can get the best out of equipment if you have a lot of talent, and I think Ryan Ellis is very, very capable. So I think Ryan Ellis has a really good shot for top 20. I'm really happy that Ryan is getting a really good opportunity to race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series once again for BJ McLeod Motorsports, and I think that he is going to put on a very good show that weekend. The next story we're going to talk about is Mike Wallace and Josh Reaume, as they have been reinstated back into the sport in NASCAR after completing the conditions for reinstatement. Now, let me give you a little bit of backstory behind Mike Wallace and Josh Reaume's suspensions. Josh Reaume was suspended indefinitely last October. I think it was after the season was completed or late in the 2020 season. The reason that Josh Reaume was suspended is he had a toaster strudel picture online, and he had a swastika flag, which is against the NASCAR protocols, and you can't do that, so they suspended him indefinitely. Mike Wallace was suspended in NASCAR for basically having some sort of pictures of like slaves or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the pictures he had. He had a picture of Kamala Harris saying something negative about Kamala Harris, and he had a picture basically saying something about slaves. That's the backstory of that. But they have completed their road to recovery, and now they're going to be back in the sport. It's great that both of them are getting back to sport. Just hope that they continue to learn from the mistakes they made, and hopefully they're able to bounce back and do a lot of great things. Because, again, Mike Wallace is the guy who's won quite a few Xfinity Series races, and Josh Reaume is trying to run a team. He hasn't been able to go any races here. So hopefully they don't make any more mistakes, and they're hopefully able to just keep this clean, their noses clean, and not have any more problems going forward. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to go ahead and talk about the Bristol Dirt Race TV ratings from this past weekend. According to Adam Stern, the delayed race that aired on Monday, Fox TV earned a 1.8 rating and 3.114 million viewers for yesterday's rescheduled Bristol race, NASCAR's first Cup Series event at race since 1970. Could you imagine if this race actually happened on Sunday? Could you imagine the viewership that we would have gotten if this race would have happened on Sunday? Still, though, for a Monday afternoon race, that is really good in my opinion. I know that's not like 5 or 6 million viewers, or it's not like a 2 or 3.0 rating, but honestly, for a Monday race, it's really not that bad. I think next year we will see better ratings. Hopefully the weather doesn't play a major factor next year, because unfortunately, the two biggest races of the season so far have unfortunately been affected by weather. So it is disappointing that the ratings, I wish they were a little bit higher before a Monday-based race. That really is not bad. Hopefully, we can get some momentum going forward when we go next in a week here or two, when we go to Martinsville. Unfortunately, that's on Fox Sports 1, so that race is probably not going to get the best ratings. I don't think there's going to be more than 2 million people that watch, even though I think Martinsville is going to have a really good show. A lot of people don't have Fox Sports 1. But yeah, honestly, I think that the ratings can eventually turn around, especially at some of these upcoming races, and hopefully those continue going in the right direction going forward. And yeah, that is the Bristol Dirt Race TV ratings from this past weekend. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode. We're going to talk about stuff from the Dale Jr. download last night. It was last night revealed Marcus Smith was on the Dale Jr. download with Mike Davis and Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he revealed some interesting things that might be coming down for Speedway Motorsports Incorporated tracks going forward. Let's start off with the first one. Dale Jr. was basically talking about, I think it was the Bristol Dirt Race, talking about how he said that this event could be one of the biggest events of the season coming down 5 years at the line. And then he commented on something, Marcus Smith commented on something very, very interesting. He said that there might be a roof coming in the next 5 years at Bristol Motor Speedway. That's right. There is potentially a roof coming in the next 5 years. This is wild. No one ever thought that NASCAR could have a roof. I don't remember the last time there was a race inside like a dome. I don't think there's ever been a race inside of a dome. And a lot of people have been begging for, especially for Bristol, and this is one thing that could fix the weather problems for Bristol National Speedway if a roof is to come. And the reason I say that this could fix a lot of problems is 5 out of the last 8 spring races, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2018, and this year in 2021, these races happened and they were either delayed later in the race or this race was postponed to Monday or even Tuesday. To me, the fact that a roof is potentially coming into the sport and potentially going to Bristol, again, the one thing that's really very important to note, it is probably going to cost quite a bit of money for this roof to come to Bristol Motor Speedway. Even though Bristol Motor Speedway is a half-mile track, it's probably going to cost a couple $1 million to get it up there because you're going to have to build a lot of stuff. I'm wondering if it is an official roof, it's going to be like a retractable roof or not. If it starts basically raining, NASCAR can basically throw that roof on the track so rain doesn't get on the track. That's what I'm thinking that potentially could be going forward. I mean, Bristol is a Coliseum, so it's the perfect fit to have a roof. Daytona, even though I think a lot of people have been saying they should put a roof over Daytona if they want to start at 3 p.m. Eastern, like they've been doing, which I think there's a good chance that that race is probably going to be pushed up to about noon, the noon start times, which fans have been really begging for. But I think the fact that this is in question is really, really awesome. And the fact that he brought this up during the Dale Jr. download is going to make a lot of people like myself really, really excited for the foreseeable future. And Marcus Smith is doing a lot of big things and a lot of intriguing things. And I think he's going to continue to lead the sport forward to a lot of great heights as the years go on. And now we're going to jump into the next part of the Dale Jr. download that actually had me talking and a lot of fans talking yesterday. North Wilkesboro. That's right. There have been some questions. Dale Jr., I think, and Mike Davis on the podcast talked about what the future potentially for North Wilkesboro is. And here's what Marcus Smith said about the potential of North Wilkesboro and what the future is looking for that. He says that we are not giving up on it. We're thinking. We're working on it. No promises, but we haven't forgotten about it. That's the big message. If we can think of a way to make something happen, there we will. This right here has me extremely excited because for years, people have been saying that it's going to be really, really difficult to bring North Wilkesboro back. It's going to take a lot to get that track repaired, and there's a lot that has to be done. Now, I think a year or two ago, Dale Jr. was out there with a group of people, and he basically tried to get the track, at least the track repaired, and make it look as good as it did around the time. Like, I think it was 1986 and 1987 what the track looked like when they brought it to iRacing. So Dale Jr. was out there a year or two ago. To me, this has me very, very excited potentially for the future of North Wilkesboro. Like I said, keep this in mind. The track is in a lot of repair. It's going to need a lot of work on it for the track to even remotely have an opportunity to be operational. But the thing is, unlike certain racetracks like Daytona and other tracks like Bristol, well, not Bristol, other tracks like Vegas and Daytona, all that stuff, this track actually does not cost as much to work on. Yes, it's going to cost quite a bit of money. It's probably going to cost a couple $1 million to even get the track worked on because where the commentators are and stuff, that pavilion is basically got holes in it. The track has holes in it and there's grass. Another big thing to know is that there's been flooding issues that have been happening at that track. So there is a lot of work overall that is going to need to be done for North Wilkesboro to be operational. But the fact that Marcus Smith is saying that potentially North Wilkesboro could come back on the racing schedule is absolutely awesome. Now, keep this in mind for me. If North Wilkesboro is to ever come back to the NASCAR schedule, it's going to be quite some time. I would say it's probably not going to be even for a couple of years. I would say the earliest, if they were to start working on it now, within a year, I think the earliest that North Wilkesboro could come on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule is probably not going to be until as early as maybe 2025 or 2026. I know fans would like to see a North Wilkesboro race even as early as next year, but I don't think it's going to happen very, very soon. I think it's going to be a few years down the line if they were to start working on it. And that's the thing. When are they going to start working on it? If they decide to go and work on North Wilkesboro, that's the big question right there. And also, is it going to replace one of the races on the Cup Series schedule down the line? That's another question that continues to get brought up. But the fact that they are still thinking about and they care about the track shows they do care about the fans in the Wilkes County area. And that's another thing. Are the fans in North Wilkesboro in that area after they lost their big race, which basically hurt the town overall? Are they going to be willing to want to work with NASCAR and willing to want to work with Marcus Smith? That's one thing that'll be very interesting to note. But to me, the fact that North Wilkesboro could eventually return to the sport is really, really exciting for the fans. And I know a lot of fans have been begging, and hopefully in the foreseeable future, they're able to get the track done. And hopefully we will see some racing out of North Wilkesboro in our lifetimes once again. And now we're going to go ahead and jump onto the final major story of today's episode. As it was announced earlier today by NASCAR that they are going to be running an oval tire test with rain tires at Martinsville International Speedway. Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson being the 5 and Chris Buescher being the 17, they will be the ones out there testing on the racetrack. So Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher are going to be the ones testing this car. Now, this is the reason that they are doing this is they're using to test feasibility of using rain tires on short tracks like Martinsville, Bristol, Richmond, and New Hampshire, and I think Dover was also in the list as well, on shorter tracks to potentially get the track ready to go. And the final reason that they're using this is a goal of returning to racing sooner in inclement conditions. For instance, if the track is not like fully covered in like water, and it's not like a showers and no bad weather basically hits, but it's like damp conditions basically where the track is basically damp, NASCAR thinks that they can bring rain tires out, and that could overall help the race get started sooner or later. Now, keep in mind, short tracks don't take as long to dry, but it would definitely speed up the process, and we could be racing with damp conditions. And this is also really exciting because this also is going to create strategy in these races as well, if this rain tire works. Now, one thing to note is that if this is to be successful tomorrow, because technically this is going to be done on Thursday, the thing that's going to be really important is if this test succeeds, NASCAR could be using this rain tire as early as the Richmond weekend in a couple weeks. That's what they're saying. They're talking about this already being feasibly ready if it's really good to go. The test goes well enough because they're going to be testing, like I said. If it goes well enough, they could bring this out at Richmond if weather is to be inclement. And in Virginia, a lot of times, especially in April, weather can definitely be a major factor for that spring race in Richmond. So I think that it's a good decision for them to do this. We have been begging that. Well, we haven't been begging, but people like myself have been wondering, could NASCAR run before they announced today, could NASCAR run an oval rain tire? Could they run it on a racetrack? And we've said no, because the tire NASCAR has is too slick, and on the oval with all the banking and stuff, you can't do it. But keep this in mind, most short tracks don't have major banking. Martinsville doesn't really have a lot of banking. Richmond has a little bit of banking, but they don't have too much. New Hampshire is flat, no banking. Dover has a little bit of banking, but it's generally flat. Not a lot of major banking. And Bristol has a lot of banking, so Bristol will probably be the one that would need to have some work to do that. But the fact that oval rain tire test is going to happen, NASCAR continues to find ways to be innovative and change the game overall for the sport. And like I said, if this test goes very successfully tomorrow and NASCAR overall likes the feedback, this could be a big game changer for the future. And this could also be a big game changer for all auto racing as well. Not just NASCAR, for IndyCar as well, because IndyCar, they also have a couple ovals on the racetrack as well. And to me, if NASCAR is seriously thinking about, and this is what I really am so happy that NASCAR is doing this, especially after how many races last year that had rain delays, especially at short tracks, and a couple of races here like Daytona and the past week at Bristol Dirt. If you had like rain tires and stuff to fix this issue, we could get racing going back sooner or later. Like I said, it can't be like super pouring out there, and the track can't be completely wet when there's wet puddles and all that stuff. But if the track's damp enough, we can race rain tires on ovals, which could be a game changer for the future of racing. And we could eventually have the first race with rain and damp conditions. So to me, this is really, really awesome. And I think the future of the sport is looking really promising. I cannot wait for the future to see when this goes through. And we might talk about it more later this week when the test is complete. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications so you can be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links here below for that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about them doing this oval rain tire test at Martinsville International Speedway? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about Marcus Smith's comments about a potential roof going over Bristol and North Wilkesboro, maybe in the foreseeable future, making some sort of comeback in the future? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like this. YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. If you do that, I would greatly and truly appreciate it. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.